Welcome to Jurassic World.
Guests, welcome to Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. The Tyrannosaur feeding show is about to begin. I'm Brad.
And I'm Dave.
And here we are to discuss minute 27 of Jurassic World. Before we get to that, David, let's go and have a look at Jurassic-Pedia.com for a minute and Tyrannosaurus Rex Kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Again, like last minute, as I mentioned, this was one of those first run articles that we got when we first got the viral site up. As you can see, it was close to the last one. This one came out on the 6th of February on 2015. And again, like the other one, could probably definitely use a revamp. All we got here is a small thumbnail image of a cropped view of the sign. And we know, of course, that we've got much more to discuss about this entire set piece here and the events that happened therein.
Yeah, well, I suppose it would have been around this time too. And I was going to talk about this later. May as well do it now. The set photos were revealed of the second unit filming in the redwoods with that goat tied to a post.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a specific spot, I can't remember, is a bit further than the Eureka Redwoods. I think it was like maybe around the John Muir Woods that are just north of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they went right to the redwoods for this, which was really exciting to see.
That made a lot of us really confused. The fact that here we got the goat back. Obviously not the same one from the first film, but we got a goat tied to a stake or tied to a post here. I don't think we knew at the time it had anything to do with Tyrannosaurus Kingdom, but just the fact that the redwoods were coming back for Jurassic World was quite exciting.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people had guessed it, though it was something to do with the goat, possibly. I think this was before we had the full synopsis revealed, and so people were wondering, oh, maybe this is a pickup shot for the opening where they recapture the T-Rex or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember that being speculated a lot.
Yep. And it's going to come up a lot more when we get to the minute itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so right up there of what we get in the film related to Tyrannosaur or to T-Rex Kingdom, all the way up to the end where we get to realise it's Paddock 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they're one and the same thing.
Yeah, this is interesting. And something else from the viral side that we didn't include here, though, because we don't actually know if those other animals were included among the T-Rex Kingdom, is it mentions that there were male T-Rexes on Isla Nublar that we don't know whether they're displayed, if they're Masrani's own, or if they were perhaps shipped from Isla Sorna, like some of the other animals were when the park first opened. But we know that they mentioned that the mating call of Rexy kind of agitated them and made them aware that Rexy was of course on the island.
Mm.
You know,
well,
which makes me also wonder if those animals died in captivity, or if they were able to be saved by some measure by Eli Mills' team during the evacuation of the island. in Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, well, that's it. You can't sit there and write Sauna out by saying that all animals were transported to Nublar for the park and then not have a second T-Rex at least on Nublar.
Mm-hmm. Especially a male, you know. I mean, you know me. I've loved the male T-Rex coloration forever. Big fan of it.
Well, my only count of that would be that we done it in the Lost World. It was a pretty focal part of the film. It returned for Jurassic Park 3, and we won't go any further into that. But also, we've done the Tyrannosaur was a major part of Jurassic Park. She come back and has a bit of a more smaller role here until the end, anyway. And yet, no, she's going to be back in Fallen Kingdom as well. So, I'm all for wringing the male chamois dry and getting him back, getting the males back in the film for the last one at least, and not just have it suddenly appear. Oh, it was on the Arcadia as well. Because Mill's team got it.
It wasn't. we know it wasn't because they had to use Rexy's blood for because she was the only T-Rex that they said was there.
Yep.
No?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, this franchise. Head over to JurassicPedia.com for the article on T-Rex Kingdom and many others.
T-Rex doesn't want to be fat. He wants to hunt. Just suppress 65 million years of gut instinct.
Dave, ready to get into minute 27?
I am.
As we enter minute 26 of Jurassic World, Gray was excited about trying to ride the Triceratops. And as we open on minute 27, he tells Zach that he's only 47 inches. Zach sighs and says this place is made for little kids. At the 12-second mark, Zach looks back to Zara on the phone, talking about a bachelor party, and gets a brilliant idea. He tells Gray to scatter, to go, and taps him on the shoulder, and the two boys run off, leaving the British nanny alone on the phone. At the 23-second mark, as the boys leave the petting zoo, 3 young girls hand a baby Apatosaurus some feed, and it slobbers all over their hands. At the 27-second mark, we cut to a busy and overpopulated main street as the boys run, giggling, through the crowd. At the 43-second mark, as Gray looks towards the Tyrannosaur Kingdom entrance, a recorded voice comes over the PA. The next T-Rex feeding show begins in 10 minutes. At the 52-second mark, we cut to a heavily forested redwood enclosure, air quotes, as a park employee lights a flare and throws it to the feet of a goat. The T-Rex bellows, and as the minute ends, we cut inside the observation log as kids are yelling and jumping and calling out for the Tyrannosaur to eat it, eat it, eat it. And this ends minute 27 of Jurassic World.
As minute 26 ended, Gray told Zach that he could still ride the Triceratops, and as we start minute 27 he continues, I'm 47.5 inches, so there must be a 50-inch or something just above that 47 that's the cutoff for the maximum height, which, good luck. You'd be kicking yourself after being evacuated from the island that you never got to ride the Triceratops, but all the other things that go on, it's probably the last thing on your mind. So here we are back with the boys after a few minutes away dealing with the raptors, and clearly Zara on her phone. Zach seems to be just walking aimlessly, saying this place is just for little kids, which, yeah, that's little kids are the only ones that are allowed to ride it. But Gray's doing what I'd be doing, just photographing everything. I do have to question the use of the old 32mm camera, though, whether it's just, again, him getting stuff handed down from parents or grandparents, or especially when we get to the Mosasaur feeding show later, everyone's got phones or digital cameras.
And even funnier is, it almost appears to be similar to one of those old kind of disposable cameras that they used to have. I know that Polaroid instant cameras had made a small comeback a couple years ago among teenagers who kind of wanted just a quick photo that they could pass around with their friends. But this almost seems like more like one of those disposable cameras that you buy at a gift shop or something like that. And it seems odd that in 2015 he wouldn't have a cell phone, even though he seems to be about that age of somebody who would just get one.
Well, you'd be able to get a relatively cheap, just a small digital camera, 12, 15 megapixel digital camera or something around that time for next to nothing. It does take you back to the 90s and zoos. They had these disposable cameras at all the kiosks and stuff. But even going back to the original Jurassic Park, they were sponsored by Kodak. There was Kodak signs on the brochures and that. I'm pretty sure there was something along the tagline, or visit Jurassic Park and film or take photos of what you see, or.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that back in the 90s, that's understandable. But yeah, I don't.
Even going back to the Godzilla reference you made, there's that moment where Matthew Broderick gets a disposable camera out of a vending machine. I remember, and you mentioned gift shops, there was one in the Field Museum gift shop that actually had the Jurassic Park T-Rex's face on it. It was, I think, Kodak. Not that you bring that up.
Yeah. Well, they even made, I know for Lost World at least, they made the cameras, they're not disposable, but they actually made themed cameras with the stickers of something that's all that yellow and black caution tape on them anyway. But
yeah, and then they also did the sweepstakes that I think sent you to New Zealand, didn't it?
Yeah, yep.
And no, it wasn't. It was I was just looking through the Cinefx magazine today. It was Hawaii. They sent you to. It was a Kauai vacation sponsored by Kodak, and even more so, it was interesting that they had that special other giveaway stuff that they did the commercial for in the Lost World Worker Village.
Yep. Yeah, well, that map, that map of Sauna, that's got Kodak on it as well. Yeah,
there's Kodak.
Promotion map or whatever.
I got that.
Yeah, it's here. I'm just trying to figure out if they even make disposable cameras anymore, but I remember it'd have to be probably 2 or 3 years ago being at a friend's wedding, instead of hiring they had a photographer for the bride and groom sort of stuff, but as for the reception, they just piled a heap of disposable cameras on the table and said, just take all the photos you can. So, yeah, I'm sure they'd still make them, but a lot less quantity than what they would have originally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a phone booth. I can't remember the last time I saw a vending machine for one on the street.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, we've still got a phone booth here in town. It's holding on. I know a lot in other places have gone.
We used to have one that was literally just the booth. There was no phone on anything. It had been long ago vandalized into basically just a pole in the booth.
Yeah.
Sitting on an empty lot in town.
Yep. But yeah, Gray here photographing everything. Whenever I go anywhere, I'm not just photographing the main attraction. I'm photographing everything around as well, just to get that just to get that sort of all around, because photographs are never going to do the real place justice. But especially nowadays with digital, you can take 1,000 photos and store them all.
Oh, yeah. I know. I mean, you used to think about it back in the 90s. You had to be worried. Oh, don't waste the film. Don't waste the film. Nowadays, I just snap. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter. I got a 64 gigabyte drive loading this thing. I can take 9,000 pictures before I run out.
Well, that's why I love the burst function on the phones as well. Like, you can just do a burst, and you can guarantee one of those 12 photos is going to be not blurry. The shutter would open at just the right speed, where, especially inside aquariums and that sort of stuff, you're sitting there taking photos, trying to get the lighting right, trying not to get the flash reflecting off glass and all that sort of stuff. Just burst it. Worry about it later.
Oh yeah, I've definitely done that too. Especially, I mean, if you're trying to get that perfect picture of a shark.
And then you sit down to your computer and put that SIM card, that memory card in, and you've got 25,000 photos. You got to try and work through and sort.
Hey, no joke. When I came back from the Redwoods, I had 5,000 pictures on my SD card.
Yep. And you'd make doubles and triples just so they didn't disappear. No crash drives or anything.
Yep.
Because there was nothing worse than getting those photos back from the developer and seeing blur, black, not working, and just, oh no.
Weird wipey stripe, or weird lighty stripe thing.
Yep. Sunlight got into the film when you're taking it out of the back of the camera, or...
Yep.
Kids get it so much easier these days. That can be my old man rant.
Picture of some kid up the kid's nose. You got a couple of those lying around someplace.
Yeah, yep. But Gray jumps down from some rocks here, saying, "I know." Then asks Zach if he wants to go on the spinning dinosaur ride. Well, the novel says there's spinning dinosaur eggs, so there are amusements on the island as well. We know from the long shot. There's up near the aquatic park. I'm pretty sure we see a Ferris wheel there, don't we? Somewhere?
Do we?
Or a merry-go-round. I thought we'd seen something like that there in that overview of the park when we did the flyover.
I think it was a merry-go-round, yeah.
Yeah. But Zach straight out says nope and tells Gray to cover up his dog pouch. So of course he's got the fanny pack on here, which again I still wear this because phone, wallet, all that sort of stuff you want close.
Yeah, well, I have a 1980s Canon fanny pack for that's sponsoring, or that was from the 1980s that year's Olympics, and I use that to store all my camera stuff on the go. I got like 3 lenses in there, a flash hider, extra SD card, all wiped down for it. I mean, it makes for a great little carrying pack. You don't need that big, bulky, boxy camera bag. All you need is the little fanny pack. Stick in the front seat, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you can have a lot of stuff with you, and it's all got to go somewhere. Zach looks back at Zara, who's on the phone, and we get our second line of dialogue from her. No, Alex not having I'm pretty sure it's Alec, because if it was Alex, you wouldn't be able to put the apostrophe S on the end of it. It'd be too long to what she's saying. But he's not having a bachelor party. All his friends are animals, which I can imagine there'd be a lot of women out there would be saying the same thing about some of their partners and their friends, and no bachelor party.
I was going to say, if his friends are animals, he's definitely having a bachelor party, and she's definitely not going to know about it.
It's already happened. It's probably already happened. It's been organised. It's been done while you're at work, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're on an island, thousands of miles away from him. We presume anyway. He might, if she's an employee on the island, he might be on the island as well. We don't know. We don't get any backstory there. But here we have, I think, our only reference to her planning her wedding, and that's why she's on the phone here. It's a bit unfair to the character, where all that sort of wedding subplot was cut out, making her just look like someone that's preoccupied with her phone and not doing a job, which is a shame. Especially with what happens later, and I know there's a lot of fans after the film come out, sucked in, she got what she deserved, and that's not looking after the kids, too busy on her phone, but it is what it is, I suppose. And that's when Zach realises that she's not paying attention and yells to Gray, "Scatter, now, go, run." And the two of them run away from Zara past some kids here feeding the baby Apatosaurus. It takes a big mouthful of grain from one of the girls' hands and leaves behind a big handful of slobber, which, again, anyone that's fed a goat, a cow, a donkey, anything at a petting zoo, realise that you don't let that thing eat out of your hand, because, it's going to make a mess.
I do think that is probably one of the things they could have made. They could have made practical and maybe just CGI'd the lips a little bit, but all you see is a close up of the head. That is definitely one of those things that could have been easily done animatronic.
Even the Gallimimus in the staffer's hands, like, again.
Yeah, I was thinking that one too.
With what they could achieve with the baby Rex in Lost World now. It is a big missed opportunity. But we do have the Pseudoceratops to look forward to. and maybe some other baby animals as well for Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we leave the petting zoo and we cut back to Main Street once again as the girl's here towing one of those inflatable sauropods behind her. I do love that as a prop and just a bit of park promotional, not promotional material, just sort of theme park themed sort of merchandise you can get.
They definitely do a great job at making this theme park feel lived in, you know? It doesn't just feel like it's a set piece, it feels like you could actually go here.
Yeah, and it shows, we know they went to several parks and seen what these sort of main esplanades and main streets look like, all the sort of stuff that's on them, and we get that all here with the people. There's a staff member here giving some people some directions, obviously lost or looking for something, and as the camera rises we can see the sea of guests all the way up to the Innovation Centre, which makes me wonder if this park is overpopulated. Even though they say that they're about half of what attendance was when the park opened, there's a lot of people here. There's a hell of a lot of people here.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly, I remember the viral site had the park guest counter, and it usually wavered around 22,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like marked as like 90% or 95% occupancy at the time. And even Hoskins says later in the movie, you got 20,000 guests. They've got nowhere to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get there. There's clearly no plan for evacuation or an asset out of containment. Mm-hmm. You're going after with non-lethals. That's a $28 million asset there. Yep. It's yeah. And we've sort of mentioned before whether this is the only sort of main street area on the island. There's got to be more stuff like this over near the hotels.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure they have the entire place packed with individual gift shops and stuff. You know, individual concession stands. Everybody's got a roasted peanuts concession stand on every corner.
Yeah. Yep.
Get your peanuts and popcorn here. No feeding the animals.
It might be just too that this would be a nightmare for me being in such a populated area like this. I don't like large crowds like this, and you know, imagine what it's like inside the gift shop and I
mean, I won't deny I would go if this was a real theme park. I would absolutely go in a heartbeat. Is just I wouldn't be dressed like Zach so much. I'd be dressed like everybody else is in shorts and summer wear. And then there's Zach, skinny jeans and long sleeved hoodie.
Well,
like, seriously.
Yeah. Well, we know they flew out of Chicago. Chicago's the state. What, Illinois, the state?
It was it was Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Yeah. So, and I've done that before. I've flown from one part of the country to another, dressed as I would for where I departed from, and got to that destination and gone, my whole suitcase is now worthless. It's either a lot hotter here or a lot colder than what I thought it was going to be, and to go for a quick trip to the shops to get some new clothes. But the boys run out on the main street here from the right, and we speculated with the aerial shot that the petting zoo was off to the side of Main Street there. Looks like that's the direction they come from. Mm-hmm. And the boys continue to weave. Go.
I was going to say, in the petting zoo scenes, you can actually see behind the zoo area. You can kind of see the one side of the Innovation Center and the mountains behind it, and it does appear to be like they came in from the direction that they're walking. Yeah,
and that Innovation Center in the background, if it wasn't there, you'd see the command building on the hill behind it, so that direct line across to there.
Well, does seem to be obscured by the trees and that kind of fake rock stuff they have going on here.
Yeah, yep. But the boys continue to weave between the crowd as they make their way down Main Street, and over the PA we can hear a voice saying next T-Rex feeding will commence in 10 minutes, and that gets Gray really excited. He's jumping up and down, screaming, T-Rex, T-Rex, come on! Which, again, is us.
That does remind me, I remember seeing videos from newsreels when The Lost World first came out, and you just see people in line for the premiere shouting, T-Rex, T-Rex, T-Rex. Like, I can imagine it's definitely inspired this next upcoming scene.
Yeah.
That we talk about, we'll see next minute.
The eat it, eat it, eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gray runs for T-Rex Kingdom to the gates as the recorded voice continues. Parents beware, this show may be disturbing for young children. Yep, if you can get to the window, it definitely will be.
Yeah, really. There is something weird, though, because, I mean, you can see it says T-Rex Kingdom at the top of the gate there, but I'm not sure if it's the angle, but even so, you should still be able to see the tops of those redwood trees sticking out of the top of the enclosure pen. And we can see them clearly when Masrani is coming in for a landing in the helicopter, but you can't really see them from anywhere else in the park. And they're there. I mean, there's clearly redwood habitat inside that arena style area.
Mm. Yeah, you can see that all the exterior shots show the 3 to 5 redwoods in the middle of that amphitheatre type arena, which we'll get to what the inside looks like right about now, as we get a shot right out of the Lost World here. We've got this dense redwood forest, the sun gleaming in through the canopy of the trees, which I'm sure you would have seen all this when you were there. It would be bringing back memories of your visit to the redwoods. And we've got a massive one lying on its side with a glass wall for guests who look out at the forest floor.
This one, I believe, the design of the open redwood log here was meant to be, or was originally concepted as being part of the Gyrosphere Valley, and you would have gotten out of the gyrosphere and gotten to see the animals close up feeding from this log lying on the fake log lying on the ground, and I think that's where the inspiration for this log came from. And then you can see behind it, looks like, I can't tell if it's attached to like a fake stump or if it's attached to the top of the log itself, this kind of enclosed employee who throws the flare at the goat.
Yeah. It looks like there's a tree trunk behind it, but it looks too far away to be where this is, where this tower, this cage is.
Yeah.
It might be attached to the log, but then it doesn't really give the park staff up there much of a view. Like, it's tucked away behind the log. Obviously keeping it just out of biting height. It seems it's a bit taller than the log itself.
I'm sure there's like titanium bars around that thing too. I have no idea.
Well, yeah, it probably wouldn't be that secure being on a pole. It'd have to be attached to this massive log observation area, just so the T-Rex can't ram the bottom of it and knock it over.
I'm sure there's tempered glass there, probably at least 5 inches thick.
Oh, oddly, not one-way glass. And we see at the end of the minute when the Tyrannosaur does approach, it's at that height as well. So
very convenient biting height.
Yeah. But there is something very familiar about this cage, or this crow's nest, they say in the novel, going all the way back to the concept art for the operations building in that cage, top of the pole, top of the tower there in the Lost World.
Yeah, true.
It's not. This one's a lot taller and a lot thinner than what the tower in the Lost World is, but there was that concept art that showed they had the little escape plan, or little place of last resort was that tower on top of the pole behind the building. We've only just recently been talking about Camp Cretaceous and the return of the redwoods here, and our first seeing of redwoods on Nublar, and without going back to those aerial shots quickly, we are looking at a real natural-looking redwood forest here.
And the area itself seems to be generally bigger than the area from what we see of it outside. It just seems to be more fuller and more kind of ecosystem-y. It doesn't, instead of just like a few trees sprouting out from the top of the in the enclosure, you know.
Well, it looks beyond what you'd build or populate an enclosure with. Especially when these trees are as old as they are. You'd build the amphitheater and that around the trees. You wouldn't be moving these trees into the enclosure to vegetate or to populate it.
Yeah. Well, that brings up what I mentioned, like with the super miracle grow that they might be using on the redwoods here to make. They plant them, and then boom, redwood in 5 years.
Well, yeah, and we see with Camp Cretaceous the glass panels and that inside the empty tree trunk. Do we think this is actually a redwood tree that they've just hollowed out, or it's been hollowed out and they've just put the glass panels in, or is... I'm thinking for safety it'd have to be a fake reinforced.
Yeah, I think the log here that we see here is a fake redwood, but at the same time it's kind of intriguing because redwoods are very resilient. They're an incredibly dense hardwood, and they can survive being hollowed out like this. I mean, like this one naturally is supposed to be probably fake because it's lying on its side, and it wouldn't be a living redwood living on its side. But redwoods are kind of this weird tree. You can hollow out like the first like the bottom 50% of it, and it'll still be alive. There's pictures that I think was just posted by the Redwoods National Park Service that showed a tree just like that. It was kind of it was basically standing on stilts almost in a way.
Yeah, there's a reason they grow so tall and so old. The resilience until we come along, chop them down.
I mean, they survive lightning, they survive wildfire, they survive pestilence, disease. They just can't survive us.
Yeah, yep. And one thing I do love about this setting here, unfortunately, we only get one shot of the Tyrannosaur from inside the enclosure or inside the viewing structure. But this takes me right back to that Lost World PlayStation 2 game with the male Rex running through the redwoods that you can control.
That is my one complaint about the scene is right after the employee here throws the flare and we see it at the foot of the goat. We hear the classic T-Rex kind of growl, but we never actually see it come up. And in the next minute we see like portions of the head kind of blocked away by the crowd, but we never actually really see the T-Rex until the end of the movie, which I find immensely disappointing.
Yeah, I wonder why. What's the hesitation to show her here? Why we couldn't keep this shot from outside and have her come across, cut inside to see the excitement of the kids inside, but then cut back out. Is it because you don't want to show the goat being eaten? You can still have a head drop out of scene and pick the goat up and get that gulping noise.
I don't know. I mean, it's not just that, but as a whole, in the last two movies, T-Rex has been kind of a real backburner dinosaur, which is really disappointing because she was such a star in the first two movies. Or he was such a... T-Rex was such a star in the first two movies, and since Jurassic Park 3, it's been pretty much full-focused Velociraptor.
Well, that's a lot will say the issue with Jurassic Park 3 is the fact they wanted to move away from the Tyrannosaur and have something bigger and badder, and that not necessarily working in fans' eyes anyway. And here, well, we can't just not have the T-Rex. We're going to use her sparingly here at the start of the film. This is the only shot we get to see of her until Paddock 9's opened at the end. I don't know if they didn't want to use. They wanted to move away from the T-Rex. They're dealing with the Raptor squad. We got the Indominus here. She's the big bad of the film, much like the Spinosaur was, and we're not going to have the two meet early on, at least anyway, because we don't want a rehash of Rexy dying. Yeah.
And it's also just a shame. I mean, that's why I loved the Tippett Jeep video so much. It was T-Rex in the Redwoods, which is something I had always wanted to see. I mean, it was T-Rex chasing a Jeep in the Redwoods. I mean, there was nothing more perfect than that. And and the Field Museum had just, I think, last winter opened up their new zoo exhibit. No, well, no, it wasn't last. It was about 2 winters ago. About back in 2018, winter of 2018, opened up the zoo exhibit, their new zoo exhibit, and going into the exhibit, you have these giant wallpaper, I think about 12-foot ceiling wall of redwood forest, and that's what T-Rex environment was. It was a redwood forest, and it's just a sin that the only time we actually get to really see T-Rex in the redwoods is during the Phil Tippett commercial.
There's one other. You just have to keep on watching that that Jeff Goldblum Jeep commercial a few more times.
Oh yeah, that was the one I mentioned. I meant.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Phil Tippett did the effects, or not did, but he sort of. He supervised the effects on the commercial.
Yeah, you said Phil Tippett, and I was imagining bloody stop motion or something, like a animatic of the Tyrannosaur chasing the Jeep in the first film.
No, it was he was the effects supervisor
and lead dinosaur handler. Oh, that joke's been done to death. We've been skirting around. You mentioned before about the fact that the aerial shots of Tyrannosaur Kingdom only show the 3 to 5 tall trees sticking out the top of it. The structure itself is sort of vaguely similar to what we have with Jurassic Park San Diego. Just the I haven't got it up here. Is it 5 or 6-sided octagon, hexagon shaped arena, amphitheater with seats around? We never get close enough to see if it's just open seating above it. We don't have the big shade sails or glass panels above it to keep guests dry like we do at the Mosasaur feeding show, or what was going to be at the Spinosaur. I've got it on my mind now. The Indominus amphitheater they're building there as well. I remember talking early on with the film whether there's a paddock adjacent to T-Rex Kingdom like what we got with the Raptors. Because again, Rexy just having this small space to roam around in doesn't really sound like a good life for her. But
at the same time, I mean, the inside of the arena area seems substantially bigger than what we see from the outside. And even when it could just be the mist of the redwoods hiding it, but it does seem like that it's just all around a much bigger area than what it really is, you know? Could be some kind of weird forced perspective thing going on, or it could be that they just happen to make the walls kind of generally redwoodish so that the T-Rex doesn't really notice the difference. You know, I mean, like how they do with the painted murals on the side of the tiger cages.
Yep. Well, it goes back to the raptor enclosure when we get the intro to that as well, and finding out after the fact that yes, there was a section off the back, but again, you just have this seemingly real forest, real jungle with no end to it, and it's supposed to be inside an enclosure, and it's
exactly
It's a continuing issue with just the whole geographical issue with Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, the park worker lights a flare here and tosses it, and as they do, we can hear that roar of the T-Rex off screen, sounding a little bit older. I don't know if it's just an effect they put on the roar, but it didn't sound crisp like we got in the first film anyway. It
sounded like that roar that we hear when she goes after the flare when Grant throws it. That kind of elephantine, low rumble roar that they had.
Yep. The flare lands beside the goat. That's tied up to a post within viewing distance of that observation log. We see in the original film they had some sort of system made up to have that goat pop out of the ground, obviously from some sort of tunnel network underground. But is someone walking out into the pen dragging a goat behind them every 2 hours to do? Because this goat's just tied to a post.
Don't look at me. I'm not putting the goat out there.
And we might, we're not seeing the whole thing. Maybe the concrete wall is directly behind the camera, and this goat's only a metre out in the enclosure. If they know where Rex is, they've probably got time to get out and do this. Yeah.
But at the same time, in the next minute, when we see what the crowd can see, I mean, it just looks like more forest, you know?
Yeah, it's a massive space inside here. Yeah, I'm not paper rocking scissors to drag this goat out there. As soon as you hear the roar, you just drop the lead and run back to the gate.